Okay.
All right. So, number one, for the practice quiz, we have to find an inverse. First four, we got to find inverses, right? So remember, I wrote it as f of x, but we can replace f of x with a y. Okay? So what do we do to find the inverse? Real easy. Come on. Switch to the x and y, right? Just replace or switch them out or swap, whatever you want to say. So the y becomes x, and the x becomes a y. And then we just solve for y. So we're going to add 15 to both sides. And then divide by 5. You can leave it like that, x plus 15 over 5. That's fine. If you want to simplify it a little bit, you could write 1/5 x, or x over 5. And then what's 15 divided by 5? 3, right? So that's our inverse. Either one's acceptable. This or this. Okay? The first way is probably the easier way. You don't make mistakes then trying to simplify. That's perfectly okay. Simple, right? Number 2 is very similar to that one. So we got y equals 4x plus 1. Again, I just use y instead of f of x, and then I switch them. So now I'm going to write x equals 4y plus 1. And get y by itself. So just subtract 1. And then divide by 4. So x minus 1 over 4 is 5. Again, if you want, you can simplify it to 1/4 x minus 1/4. And that's the symbol for f inverse if you want to write it. Either one is okay. No restrictions we have to worry about because there's no variables in the denominator. Okay? So 1 and 2 should be really easy for you, right? 3 and 4 take a little more work, but they're not that hard either. So this one, we've got y equals 6x over x plus 2. So we're going to write x equals 6y over y plus 2. So now I have a denominator. So how do I get rid of the denominator? How do I move that y plus 2? Multiply, right? So we're going to multiply by y plus 2, both of them. So we usually do it like that, right? Those cancel. So I got 6y on the right. I would distribute these. Okay? Distribute the x. Now, as you can see, remember the goal is to get y alone, but we got 1 on each side. So we want to get the y's together. So I'm going to take the xy on the left over to the 6y on the right. I'll put my y's on the right this time. That way I don't have to move the 2x. Okay? So what's the trick now to get y by itself? We go from 2 y's to 1 y. It's not really a trick, but what do? You guys forgot how to talk. You were talking so well before class. What do I do with that y on the right? Turn 2 y's into 1. Think about factoring. What's the first thing we do when we factor? Pull out a GCF, right? So y's in both. So factor out or pull out the y like you would a GCF. So to get y by itself now, all I have to do is divide by 6 minus x. Okay, so our answer is 2x over 6 minus x, because those cancel, right? Equals our inverse. What makes the denominator 0? 6, right? So I cannot, that's my restriction on the variable, on my domain. X is not allowed to be 6. Questions? So on 3 and 4, you're going to get 2 y's. So get the y's on one side and then factor out the y like a GCF. You're going to do that on both of them. No questions? We're good? Okay. So again, here's the original problem. Okay. And we have a restriction, but I'm not worried about the restriction now. We'll do it at the end. Switch them. So y becomes x, the 2 x's become y's. Same procedure. Going to multiply by the denominator, both sides, and distribute your x through there on the left. So you got 3xy plus 6x equals 2y minus 4. Again, this distributed. All right. This time, since I got to move, I got 2 things on both sides. I'm going to move the 2y to the left side and the 6x to the right side. So the 2 y's are gone there, the 6 x's are gone there. So I've got 3xy minus 2y on the left and negative 6x minus 4 on the right. Factor out the y, and then you have 3x minus 2. And then divide by 3x minus 2. You don't need to worry about simplifying 6x minus 4 and the 3x minus 2. You can just leave it. Or you can write f inverse if you want. I'm not worried about that. What's my restriction? What's x not allowed to be? Well, if you're not sure, just write it and then solve it. Add 2 and divide by 3. So that's what x is not allowed to be. So were those 4 that difficult? Not very. You guys should do well. All right? Switch your x's and y's, solve for y. All right? Number 5 is the hardest one, right? Okay, so we're supposed to evaluate that when x is negative 3. So all we're doing is f of negative 3, which means 5 to the negative 3rd power, which is 1 over 125. Or, what is it, 0.008? Decimal or fraction is fine. That's all you're doing, put it in the calculator. Right? That's like a gimme problem, right? Easy 5 points. And then number 6 is a word problem. It says the function below gives the amount of medication in milligrams in a patient's bloodstream T minutes after the medication has been injected into the patient's bloodstream. All right. So A stands for the amount, and then it's 500 e to the negative 0.018 t power. All right. So A asks, use the graphing calculator to determine how long it will take for the amount of medication in the patient's bloodstream to reach 302 milligrams. So you're starting out with 500 milligrams, all right? And then anything to the, if I make that a 0, right? When we start, that times 0 is 0, e to the 0 is 1, so 500 times 1 is 500. So we're going to go to our graphing calculator and our y equals and put that in. So you go 500. How do I get the e to pop up? Second natural log, right? ln. Negative signs down here, 0.018. And we don't have a t, we'll use x. And then I have to close it up with a parenthesis. If you have a newer calculator, it shows it like that, like you're not used to seeing as an exponent. So you don't have to put the parentheses around it. Okay? So when I go to my table, at 0 is 500, 0 minutes. After 1 minute, it's 491 milligrams, and we're going to look for a 302, right? We're looking for when it's down to 302. So we're just going to go down with our down arrow key until we see a 302 in the Y column. "28 minutes. So then you look at X. Okay? So that's what we want for A. All right? Part B says find the amount of medication in the patient's bloodstream 55 minutes after it has been injected into the patient. So you can do it two ways. You can just punch that in your calculator or keep going down till you hit 55. Now you can just go 500 e negative 0.018, and remember it's times 55 up there. Okay, you just punch it in like that if you want, or you could keep going down the table till you see 55 on in your X. Is that 185.8 milligrams after 55 minutes? So either way works. If you go back to the table, you'll get the same answer. Keep going down. As you can see, there's the 185.8. So either way works. But again, it's all calculator work. Another pretty easy problem, right? So it'll be similar to the warm-up or that, using your calculator for 5 and 6. So, should our quiz tomorrow be that difficult? No, pretty easy, right? Not a bad way after a 5-day winter break, right? So make sure you're ready tomorrow. If you owe me homeworks, get those in. I'll give you some points. If they're late or if you've been sick, they'll be on time.
What's the matter? Go back up to number 4 real quick. Thank you. Yeah, I see the bottom part. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Don't